message to the people of Ukraine.
Extraordinary was how this meeting was billed as NATO struggles to calibrate its response to an all-out war.
Over here?
Minister after minister filed in and tried to put words to a conflict that keeps escalating.
The world is changing under our eyes, and we need to be prepared.
That's the moment to speak out.
That is the only way to make sure that this madness stops.
The message that NATO members are moving in lockstep to counter Russia's aggression.
The undercurrent leading into this meeting was a big ask from Ukraine's president, an emotional plea repeated day after day, that NATO step up and declare a no-fly zone over the country.
How many of us need to be blown up, how many legs and arms torn off, until you finally implement a no-fly zone, Volodymyr Zelensky cries. That frustration is also evident outside the meeting, the calls for more action hard to silence. But NATO is in a bind, horrified by the destruction, convinced it will get worse in the coming days. And yet NATO is not about to get directly involved.
Allies agree that we should not have NATO planes operating over Ukrainian airspace or NATO troops on Ukrainian territory.
The risk it would create a global war, pulling in more countries, harming more civilians.
They're sheltering. They're shelling around them.
Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister understands the emotional ask from Ukraine's leaders, but she says NATO members have to tread carefully.
Our red line is not to start an international conflict. We need to make sure that we do everything possible without crossing that red line.
Weak is the accusation from Ukraine's president. He says everyone who dies after today dies because of NATO and its refusal to set up a no-fly zone. He's incensed at the military alliance's plan to stick to the plan. Weapons and more flown into Ukraine, but NATO troops sent to bolster the eastern flank, not crossing the border, as Ukrainians try desperately to fight back the Russians. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Brussels.